You won't believe how these elite soccer players went from making millions to declaring bankruptcy. However, what caused their staggering financial woes? Well, let's get started with number 14. On the soccer field, Ronaldinho Gaúcho was known for his extraordinary skill and inventiveness. However, he went through a significant financial setback. 2 Ballon d'Or awards and significant stints with prestigious clubs like AC Milan and Barcelona are among his career highlights. Ronaldinho had a successful career, but he had serious financial problems later in life. In 2018, reports surfaced that Ronaldinho just had $685 in his financial balance while battling with obligations adding up to $2.4 billion. His monetary hardships were exacerbated by legitimate difficulties, remembering a weighty fine for unlawful development for a safeguarded region in Brazil. Endeavors to remortgage his property to settle his obligations were useless, prompting the capture of his identification by the specialists. The circumstance demolished in 2020 when Ronaldinho was imprisoned in Paraguay for supposedly entering the country with fashioned reports. This was a significant setback for the once famous soccer icon known as number 13. Asamoah, the previous chief association star and Ghana skipper, has openly excused reports asserting he's battling monetarily. These reports, beginning from The Sun and the Everyday Mail, proposed that Guan had just $778 in his ledger, depicting him as bankrupt. Ian explained in a meeting with Asempa FM that he doesn't manage an account with the Public Venture Bank, or NIB, where his alleged waning funds were accounted for. Guan has had a successful career, including a significant stint at Shanghai SIPG, where he reportedly earned $294 per week. He is known as Africa's all-time top scorer at the FIFA World Cup. In spite of these earnings, he vigorously refutes the claim that he was left with just $778 and was unable to support his family in 2018. Juan mentioned his various business endeavors, including the Baby Jets promotion and the ASA band, to support his financial situation. A musical group and investments in the food and event industries like Jetlink Events and Logistics and Mama Vit's Noodles and Rice. He likewise addressed his legally binding subtleties with Kaiser Spor, noticing a particular compensation structure contingent upon whether he gets a game or comes going the seat. However, he didn't determine the figures. Yun hinted at potential legal action against media outlets for defamation and expressed frustration with the negative portrayal in the media. He focused on the disparity between open discernment and reality, stating his monetary dependability and expectation to safeguard his standing. This demonstrates how athletes struggle with public and media perceptions of their finances. And the subsequent athlete on our list experienced a blow when they declared bankruptcy, though it was not unexpected. 12 Randrena, once a famous footballer. Real Madrid and Everton went through a lot of financial trouble, and the BR court declared them bankrupt. In spite of his effective vocation, Dren's monetary administration prompted impressive troubles, requiring the mediation of a monetary guide to supervise his financial undertakings. When Drenth was officially declared bankrupt in December 2020, his financial decline reached a critical point. In spite of his financial difficulties, he showed resiliency, suggesting that his accountant might have made a mistake or been careless. I'm not effortlessly stunned by Dr. Rena's assertion, demonstrating his preparation to defy his monetary difficulties head-on in the liquidation request was a consequence of Docker's non-appearance from the legal dispute. Confounded by his bookkeeper's inaccessibility all through his vocation, Drena procured significant totals, including an eminent compensation at Genuine Madrid, where he confronted disparities in his normal profit. He described an occurrence where he found his compensation was fundamentally not exactly expected, provoking him to adopt an additional involved strategy to his monetary issues, including his way of life decisions and speculations, including traffic fines. His expenses included investments, clothing, entertainment, and property. He transparently talked about his luxurious way of life, confessing to the interruptions and enticements that went with his football achievement. This authentic affirmation features the defeats of acclaim and riches, especially when not oversaw astutely. Speculations can either suffocate or help your funds for the following competitor. They certainly caused suffocating number 11. As recently reported during his time at Old Trafford, Wes Brown, a former England and Manchester United defender, has been declared bankrupt. Brown supposedly procured up to $65,000 every week, encountering an effective profession with spells at Sunderland and Blackburn, and procuring 23 Britain covers prior to resigning at him. Blasters? Brown's Monetary Inc., arisen after a liquidation request, recorded by HMRC, was endorsed by the High Court. Extra subtleties featured Brown's monetary battles, including huge misfortunes and bombed property. Speculations and obligations connected with vehicle installments. Regardless of procuring significant wages during his football profession, Brown confronted monetary hardships that deteriorate. Ed because of an expensive separation from his better half, Leanne, a star of The Genuine Housewives. Brown's close friends said that bad real estate deals were to blame for his financial woes, as most of his money went missing. He overpaid on the ranch, and LL lives on the homestead. The farm holds the remaining funds. One more property claimed by Brown was recorded at $5.85 million, however sold for almost a portion of that sum following 7 years available. Brown's monetary downfall represents the monetary dangers competitors face post-retirement, underlining the requirement for monetary education and cautious venture. Celestine Babayaro is a well-known figure in soccer. He played for Under Chelsea and Newcastle and was a member of the Nigerian team that won gold at the 1996 Olympics there. Babar's week-after-week income were a significant $45,000. After retirement, his financial stability declined despite a lucrative career. By 2011, Babara confronted liquidation, a difference to his previous long stretches of monetary PR. Success's monetary battles became public when he was indicted by lenders and lost his home. The main driver of his liquidation was credited to a sumptuous way of life and poor monetary decisions, in contrast to a portion of his companions. Babar's financial woes were the result of a series of poor financial decisions made over time, not a single incident. His story features the basic requirement for monetary education and dependable cash the board, especially in callings where profit can be significant, however not really supported over an extensive stretch. In some cases, players don't understand what their obligations are mounting doing, regardless of whether they assumed they were procuring essentially well. Number 9, Yana Nisa, a previous expert soccer player, is very much associated with his time at Liverpool, where he made huge progress, including winning the Bosses Association as a player. Despite having a successful career and earning approximately 68 kelvins per week while playing for Liverpool, Arisa was well known for his strength and skill as a left back. He also played in crucial matches and helped Liverpool's defensive line. Risa confronted monetary hardships that prompted liquidation. Risa's monetary difficulties became public in 2007, when he was pronounced bankrupt. The circumstance was especially striking as it happened while he was as yet a functioning player, not at all like numerous competitors who face monetary issues post-retirement. The liquidation was connected to a neglected obligation of roughly $136,000, a generally modest quantity, considering his profit, however critical enough to cause lawful issues. Further convoluting what is happening was Arisa's contribution in a monetary cheat in Norway, connected to a claimed $4 million misrepresentation examination. Arisa's story stresses the requirement for legitimate monetary administration and the dangers related with high income. These can prompt critical monetary difficulties on the off chance that not oversaw. Admirably, Risa, the following soccer star on our rundown, additionally loves a lot of extravagance and luxuriousness. Number 8, Eric Juma Juma. Juma's soccer career included a notable time at Manchester United, where Juma experienced serious monetary hardships after his soccer profession. Juma's bankruptcy in 2007 stood in stark contrast to his earlier professional success. His monetary ruin is credited to his lavish way of life, portrayed by overabundant spending on extravagant things and the upkeep of various financial balances. Reports recommend that at one point he took ownership of 10 vehicles and held around 30 financial balances, delineating his luxurious ways of managing money. The liquidation happened while Jumbo was still under agreement, which features the instability of monetary soundness in any event for dynamic expert competitors. Juma's monetary difficulties feature the risks of poor monetary preparation and rich spending. In addition, they emphasize the importance of financial education and accountability in high-paying careers. In the case of our next soccer player on list number 7, poor financial decisions made with a troubled mind can sometimes result. Lee Henry had a long career as a soccer player, primarily with Aston Villa, where he consistently performed on the field. Henry faced significant financial difficulties, despite his professional success and financial gains. Post-retirement, prompting Chapter 11 of Every 2012, Henry's monetary difficulties were complex, originating from a rich way of life and a flopped land venture. His liquidation was quite serious, driving him to endeavor self-destruction 2 times, which shows exactly the way that significant and effective monetary challenges can have on a person's psychological well-being in spite of his endeavors to keep up with monetary steadiness through different endeavors. Henry's absence of outcome in these undertakings prompted significant monetary misfortunes. Family matters were the primary money trainers for numbering the next star on our list. David James, a previous Britain goalkeeper, had a distinguished soccer vocation with remarkable spells at clubs like Liverpool and Manchester City. James was known for his abilities on the field and his work beyond soccer, including displaying for Armani, regardless of acquiring an expected $27.5 million over his arrear. 2014 saw James declare bankruptcy. The essential driver of James Monetary's defeat was a costly separation in 2005, which fundamentally depleted his assets. Post-separate, he confronted raising obligations, convincing the courts to arrange the offer of his assets, including sports memorabilia, DJ hardware, and a vehicle. This period denoted a huge low in James's life, exhibiting the sensational shift from abundance to monetary trouble. Some of the time, monetary difficulties simply end up dropping all of a sudden, and there's nothing that should be possible about it. Number 5, Brad Friedel. Brad Friedel, a conspicuous goalkeeper, played for a few top English clubs including Liverpool, Aston Estate, and Tottenham Hotspur. His effective vocation in the chief association made him very much regarded figure in football. Notwithstanding his accomplishments and monetary profit from his profession, Friedel confronted monetary difficulties because of a critical interest in a soccer foundation. Friedel's venture was in a soccer institute in the US, a task he left on to encourage youthful ability. He put around $10 million in this drive, meaning to contribute emphatically to the improvement of soccer in the US anyway. The planning of his speculation matched with the 2008 monetary emergency, essentially influencing the foundation's monetary solidness and its capacity to draw in vital help. The monetary challenges of the institute raised, prompting Friedel petitioning for financial protection security in the UK. The foundation's disappointment brought about obligations adding up to around $6.8 million. Furthermore, Friedel faces inclination procedures for his home, Val, at $355,000. This present circumstance features the dangers related with significant ventures and the effect of outside monetary elements on individual accounting records. Factors like addictions can truly sink the boat. Similarly, as with the following soccer star, Paul Gascoigne, warmly known as Gaza, is quite possibly of Britain's most gifted and celebrated footballer. His vocation has been loaded up with remarkable high on the field, has been similarly set apart by proficient difficulties, regardless of an effective football profession. Gascoigne confronted monetary troubles, barely staying away from liquidation in 2016, notwithstanding confronting a $57,500 charge from HMRC's monetary battles were deteriorated by his private matters, incorporating fights with gloom and substance misuse. His battles with psychological well-being and compulsion were public, adding to his monetary burdens. Reports recommend he accrued obligations up to $274 million. At a certain point, his circumstance was extreme to such an extent that, notwithstanding his past profit and very important person status, he was near monetary breakdown. His monetary close to miss in 2016 was a reminder showing the unusual idea of monetary soundness, in any event, for effective competitors. Gaza's story shows the critical connection between private prosperity, monetary administration, and the requirement for strong organizations for competitors like Gaza. The following star on our rundown had monetary difficulties in light of his addictions. Number 3 is Paul Marin, a former England and Arsenal footballer who has publicly struggled with alcoholism, gambling, and drug addictions. Despite earning millions of dollars during his football career, Marin lost approximately $9.6 million as a result of his addictions, causing significant financial and emotional turmoil. In a revealing moment that took place on the ITV documentary Harry's Heroes, Marin described the extent of his struggle with gambling, comparing the compulsion to bet to that of a crack addict. His inability to control his betting over the years resulted in significant financial losses, as well as personal suffering, affecting his relationships and mental health. He depicted the psychological fatigue of continually looking for cash to fuel his habit, featuring the persistent idea of his inclination to bet on different games. When Maron talked about how his addiction affected how he saw himself and how satisfied he was with his life, it was clear how much it affected him emotionally. His addiction brought him to a point where he felt like his life was rapidly deteriorating, despite having a loving family. The severe impact that addiction has had on his life is demonstrated by his candid admission of breaking down and feeling overwhelmed by his need to gamble. Despite his success, including 86 Northern Ireland caps and 239 Premier League appearances, Heath Gaspy had a noteworthy football career, earning approximately $9.6 million over 2 decades. Gaspy opted for non-payment in 2011, a circumstance that brought him huge humiliation. Gillespie's monetary ruin was credited to different variables, including his separation, which he recognizes was affected by his financial battles. He began his career at Manchester United before moving to Newcastle, where, despite his professional accomplishments, he had a significant impact. Gillespie's monetary administration drove him to the deficiency of his whole profession profit, a situation he transparently examined in the BBC film Paul Maron Football Betting and Me. The film features Gillespie and Maron's battles with cash, displaying the more extensive issue of monetary bungle among proficient competitors. Given that Gillespie admitted to feeling embarrassed by his bankruptcy and the loss of his earnings, his story is especially striking. His vocation post at Newcastle included spells with Blackburn Wanderers and Sheffield joined together, among others, finishing in his revisitation of Northern Ireland to play for Glentoran and later for non-association groups. In his later years, Gas was involved with Mindwell FC, a Northern Ireland-based charity football team that aims to raise awareness of men's mental health. This commitment mirrors his excursion from monetary hopelessness to contributing decidedly to society and perceiving the significance of help and mindfulness for emotional wellness and monetary administration among competitors. Indeed, even an unbelievable name in the game isn't protected from the evil destiny of cash. Diego Maradona. Despite his remarkable career, Diego Maradona, one of football's greatest talents, faced significant financial challenges. He was one of the highest-paid athletes in the world at the height of his career, earning millions from endorsements and salary. Be that as it may, his abundance was considerably diminished by a progression of individual and monetary difficulties. Martin's monetary difficulties were multi-layered, coming from a way of life set apart by dependence and lawful issues. In spite of acquiring huge totals during his stretches with clubs like Barcelona and Napoli and from supports, his total assets was assessed at only $100 million at the hour of his demise. His profit incorporated a huge compensation from Napoli, a sum of around $3 million, alongside up to $10 million in supports, adding up to in excess of $26 million in the present cash. His training vocation post-retirement, incorporating a job with the Argentina Public Group and an instructing stretch in Mexico, where he purportedly procured $150 per month, couldn't offset his monetary downfall. Maron's monetary decay was exacerbated by an enormous expense obligation in Italy. During his time at Napoli from 1984 to 1991, he gathered around $30 million in neglected charges, with Italian specialists publicizing this obligation in 2009. In spite of Martin's cases of having settled this obligation, Italian authorities kept up with that he owed several millions in lawful difficulties and medical problems because of his compulsion, which further depleted Merida's funds. In 1991, he confronted a fine from Italy's Soccer Council and lawful activity from Napoli for missing games and supposedly discoloring the club's standing because of his medication use. Maradona himself recognized the cost his way of life took on his vocation and individual life, conceding that his sickness gave his rivals a benefit and pondering the effect of his medication use on his true capacity as a player. He expressed, "I'm 53 going on 78, in light of the fact that my life hasn't been typical. I've carried on with 80 years with the existence I've gone through, while characterized by his unprecedented ability." Additionally, his legacy includes a cautionary tale regarding the pitfalls of mismanaged fame and fortune. Even for the most successful soccer players, it is shocking to see how quickly fortunes can change, but athletes aren't the only ones who face financial difficulties. Money issues plague even country music stars. In the event that you're interested about the stupidest ways country stars went belly up, you won't have any desire to miss it. Click here to watch straight away and perceive how the rich and popular in some cases wind up singing the blues about their lost fortunes. Thanks for watching Gossip Now.